Hello, this is Tarregor. This video is a Twitch stream that was not edited, so it's gonna look like a stream on Twitch. Welcome to my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. The design direction of my vision of Classic Plus is substantially different from that of retail WoW, Circus Shadowlands, and a private service, Vanilla Plus Intro WoW. This is partially because it aims to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first. Flash out and polish is already there. Second, I need water. Okay, that's better. And add new content third. And flesh out and polish it already there second before adding new content. This is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video's description for a link to the playlist. The document displayed is my vision of Classic Plus. And the document's version number is version 1.5.16. All versions of the document are based upon patch 1.12.2 for World of Warcraft. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you otherwise look into this, then watch an introductory video in its playlist or review the document yourself and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is on my channel's About page. That, and I do not have a team of people, or however, working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. Now first off, as I have covered in other videos in its playlist already, all items in the entire game that had an item level above 65 were squished down to an item level of 65, and all raids harder than Upper Blackrock Spire, excluding world bosses, were turned into 40-man raids. And they exclusively drop item level 65 epic items, with a tiny chance to select items that are required for legendary weapon quest chains. So there's only going to be one tier raids, and it's going to be hard. On a related note, world bosses only drop item level 63 epics now. Now also the PvP ranking system is being replaced with a new one. Now, all rank-based PvP rewards are being nerfed to item level 65. There's going to be more rewards, so rank 14 players can wear PvP epics in every slot but their shirt, and not just in several equipment slots like a vanilla. That and epic Battle Guard rewards are being nerfed to item level 63. Now, also that world buffs were massively nerfed, and the buff stacking in general was heavily revised as well. And the debuff level was increased to 255. That said, only shared with buffs, because why the fuck not at that point? All that said, every class will have far less gear and buffs to scale with than they had in vanilla, so keep all that in mind while you watch this video. Though also that all flasks were changed so that they won't do anything unless they already influence of a flask enabling spell. Paladins get 2 of them, and Shamans get a clone of each of those spells. Each flask requires the player to be under the effects of a specific flask enabling spell for the flask to have any effect upon the player. As you'll see according to relevant spell descriptions as I go over them, these spells are intended to force players to only use flasks in certain scenarios, such as 40-man raids, in order to keep tryhards on a leash. Now then, the agenda before the execution. The agenda comes before the execution. I generally want to make Red Paladins be worth bringing to raids without increasing their personal damage by enough to matter in PvP. I'm not referring to spell damage plus proc stacking Paladins. Those Paladins will no longer be a thing that stack procs and spell damage because procs from all items and from buffs such as Dragon Breath Chili, but not class-specific buffs, no longer scale with bonus spell damage or healing because either A, I have to balance those procs around bonus spell damage / healing, therefore they'll suck if you don't have bonus spell damage / healing, or B, I don't balance them around bonus spell damage / healing, therefore you'll be overpowered if you do have bonus spell damage / healing. So I just decided to go with option C. They don't scale. Of course, class-specific stuff is all still good at scale, not counting class-specific items like Varagun's Fist, so that's a bad example because it has no procs. Anyway, moving on. I want to make Red Paladins be more offensively threatening in player versus player combat. Oh, there's a fly. Can I kill it? No, I gotta wait. I want to make Red Paladins be more offensively dangerous in PvP than Holy Paladins are. I want to make fast-zoning weapons be useful in the first place. I want to make prop Paladins be By the way, fast winners are also going to be useful to enhance shamans. I want to make prop paladins be a mandatory main tank in every raid, in conjunction with a bear druid and 2 prop warriors, without remarkably unbalancing PvP. By the way, the horde will get an enhanced shaman tank if it's ever a prop paladin tank, but I already recorded the shaman video, you can just watch it. if you care that much. I don't want to nerf Reckoning a bit. I want to make Holy Paladins have to primarily invest into. I want to make Holy Paladins have to invest deep into the Holy Talent Tree instead of investing shallowly into the Holy Talent Tree in order to be good healers. I want to prevent the Horde from getting Paladin blessings. I want to make leveling be more fun for Paladins. I want to make Paladins stop wearing leather and cloth, and at high levels, stop wearing mail too. Though it's okay if they wear this stuff at low levels. I want to make no talent be useless when somebody else in your group has it. I want to make rating specs be better at PvP without those same specs being optimal PvP specs. And vice versa. I want to make no talent be useless in PvP, and I want to make no essential rating talent be useless in solo play. Now then, general Paladin changes onto the execution. All Paladin blessings and Divine Intervention may not be casted while charmed, and they may not be casted on charmed targets in order to prevent exploits. All regular Paladin blessings will last for 20 minutes by default, while all greater ones will last for 1 hour by default. Ever since they introduced greater blessings back in vanilla, there's basically been no reason not to do something like this, because blessings haven't really been comparable to totems ever since they introduced greater blessings to the game. There no longer is a necessity for buffs to be short so that they may be compared to totems. Blessings to be short. Anyway, moving on. Greater blessings will generate 1 point of threat per person that you buff with them in order to prevent them from being overpowered for threat generation, and therefore for tanking. Righteous Fury will only do what it says, so it's only going to buff your holy... So it's only going to buff the threat generated by your holy damage, and not by your heals or other sources of threat. A change I'm not so sure about. All holy damage dealt by paladins will be treated as standard holy damage, like from Smite and Holy Fire. This change will, among other things, make Seal of the Crusader not be useless outside of its judgment due to Seal of Righteousness' holy damage no longer being able to proc melee procs. Paladin holy damage being treated like melee damage did not do much to make Paladins feel less like warriors of yellow magic, anyway. Mocking voice not intended, I just wasn't really thinking about the voice of that. Anyway, the icons for Hammer, Wrath, and Seal of Righteousness will be swaps, because Hammer Wrath's icon will then be more appropriate, while that Seal of Righteousness would be about as good as it was before. Exorcism and Holy Wrath will also damage aberrations. Design note, this is the only reason why I added aberration as a creature type instead of leaving it faceless ones in our garage as unclassified creatures. By the way, I replaced the Inubsats and Assyrian the Unscarred with faceless ones. Because the less references to real-life mythology, the better. That is, the more immersion the player will have, the less suspension of disbelief will be required of the player, or expected of the player. Moving on, the healing for Judgment of Light will only give its associated threat to the one that he heals. The Paladin who casts a Judgment of Light will not receive threat when he heals somebody else. This will prevent crop Paladins from being overpowered in dungeons and raids, due to threat generation being sky high. Judgment of the Crusader will only benefit... Hold on. Yeah. Judgment of the Crusader will only benefit all Paladin spells that scale with bonus spell damage. So that means Consecration, Holy Shield, Exorcism, Hammer of Wrath, Holy Wrath, Seal, Commands, Judgment of Command, Seal of Righteousness, Judgment of Righteousness, Holy Shock, Hand of Righteousness, new spell, Hand of Command, and Hand of Command, also a new spell. In order to balance Alliance and Horde Holy Priest damage. Nitpicky thing I'm doing because Holy Priests are kind of the only because Holy Damage Priests are kind of the only true hybrids in the game. The only hybrids that don't need to use an ability to swap back and forth between their roles, such as Shadow Form or Cat Form. Anyway, I just thought it'd be a nice little thing to do for Holy Priests. The Horde Holy Priests, anyway. Moving on. Judgment of Light and Wisdom's proc chances will be changed from 50% to 15 proc per minute based on the procker's weapon speed, which is not necessarily the caster's weapon speed, in order to make it easier to balance fast and slow weapons for the Alliance. Paladins will be given some sort of baseline instant-cast single-target taunting spell that costs a percentage of base mana and is not associated with the Seal/Hand/Judgment system. Blessing of Protection is not good enough for prop paladins if they're going to be main tanks in competitive raiding environments. And by competitive, I mean speedrun and world first, that kind of shit. Real competitors. Only one instance of each type of Paladin judgment, regardless of rank, may be on any one enemy at any one time. Oh, by the way, don't give me that shit about, oh, you're making other competitors look bad. This is WoW we're talking about. You're WoW players. Everybody. Fucking everybody. Obsessed over the top 1%. I'm going by your standards, not mine. Anyway, moving on. Only one instance of each type of Paladin judgment, regardless of rank, may be on any one enemy at any one time. Those of a greater effect will overwrite those of a lesser effect. This will make it far easier than it would otherwise be to balance Paladins in raids, especially now that the debuff limit is 255, not gonna buff me short of it, instead of 16. Hammer of Wrath's rank and spell descriptions will be changed as such, so that prop Paladins can have a pulling spell. Instead of it is at least less boring to level up a Paladin, and so that Paladins don't all have to be engineers in order to pull stuff in the first place. By the way, professions other than engineering are massively buffed in order to be able to compete with engineering, and engineering got nerfed. But more on that in later videos. Anyways, rank 1 of Hammer of Wrath. 58 mana at level 12. Yes, 12, not 44. 1 second cast, 30-yard range, 6-second cooldown, 20% spell damage coefficient. Hurls a hammer that strikes an enemy for 12 to 14 holy damage. Damage is quintupled, that is multiplied by 5, versus enemies that have 22% or less health remaining, that is low health. Like Execute. Rank 2, and then yada etc. It deals more damage at higher ranks. Until rank 7. 425 mana, level 60, 1 second cast, 30-yard range, 6-second cooldown, 20% spell damage coefficient. Hurls a hammer that strikes an enemy for 101 to 111% whole. For 101 to 111 points, not percent, but points of holy damage. Damage is multiplied by 5 versus enemies that have 20% or less health. By the way, quintuple does not just refer to the base damage, it also refers to the spell damage coefficient. And this applies to all ranks of Hammer of Wrath. So yeah, you're gonna get Hammer of Wrath at level 12 instead of 44, an extra ability used for most of your leveling process. Or maybe more like half, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Seeing as how Judgment of Justice was largely made redundant by Hammer of Wrath, when the latter spell is added to Vanilla WoW, I might change Judgment of Justice in the future to do something completely different that is not a taunt. Seal of Righteousness, Light, Wisdom, and Justice, and the Crusader will have their base mana cost reduced by 40% in order to make room for a new spell, Holy Hand. Rank 5 of Seal of Righteousness will deal 8 to 24 base holy damage. Rank 6 will deal 10 to 32 base holy damage. Rank 7 will deal 13 to 41 base holy damage. And rank 8 will deal 14 to 45 base holy damage. All still based on their base weapon speed as before. And the other ranks of Seal of Righteousness will deal 40% less base damage than before. This not only fixes the spell's rank-based damage scaling, but it also makes room for the new spell, Holy Hand. The spell damage coefficient for Seal of Righteousness, instead of being 10% for one-handed weapons, it's 12.5% for two-handed weapons, will be 3.04 times space weapon speed, that as a percentage, for both one-handed and two-handed weapons. This is being done to make it be more consistent with similar spells, and to make these spell being good for fast weapons as for slow weapons. Designed out, I forgot this accounts for a 40% nerf from Holy Hand being added to the game. This in particular, not other stuff. Seal of the Crusader will grant 40% less bonus to attack power than before in order to make room for the new spell, Holy Hand. Seal of Justice, Light, and Wisdom will have their proc chances lowered by 40% multiplicatively and not subtractively to make room for the new spell, Holy Hand. That is, like 20 minus 40% equals swell for example. Like 20 minus 40% equals swell, for example. Anyway, moving on. All seals will take effect immediately upon triggering. As such, seal twisted will be removed from the game, even if some paladins did like it. Other paladins didn't like being pigeonholed into doing it. Divine Shield will specifically also allow you to use your Hearthstone and Engineering Teleporters, regardless of whether or not you're in combat. By the way, Hearthstones and Engineering Teleporters were changed to innately prevent you from using them while you're in combat, except Divine Shield will negate that. During its duration, anyway. Concerning spell... lockouts. Oh, by the way, make sure you time your Divine Shield good enough to actually use your Hearthstone and... Excuse me, make sure you time your Hearthstone or Teleporter good enough to actually use it before Divine Shield wears off. There are some Paladins who don't actually do that. And it's pretty embarrassing to get killed by an Earth Shock at low health because your Divine Shield wore off before you finish herping. I thought that's someone before in Wrath. Anyway, moving on. Concerning spell lockout, Turn Undead will be considered to be a holy spell and not a nature spell. It being a nature spell does not thematically make sense. A passive spell will be added to the Paladin spellbook of character creation that reads as such. Delight doesn't want its holy warriors wearing cloth or leather, where they can wear something sturdier instead, nor does it want to wield an offhand frill instead of a shield. You'll incur a 2.5% chance of spell failure for each piece of cloth or leather that you wear when your level is high enough to realistically equip other armor in those equipment slots, and for using an offhand frill. Beginning at level 50, you'll also get penalized for wearing mail instead of plate. Current increase plus X%. Hopefully that's going to say 0. Notes: for levels 1 through 9... Oh, by the way, I am going to clean up the description of... Excuse me. I am going to compact the description of this ability. Going by the compacted description of the warrior version of the ability. When I get around to it. Anyway, moving on. Note: from levels 1 through 19, I need water. From levels 1 to 19, there's going to be no penalties for not wearing mail armor. Don't worry too much if you can't find those mail pants before then. Before level 20. From levels 20 to 29, you'll be penalized for wearing leather, cloth, or no. Chests, bracers, gloves, belts, pants, or boots. Starting at level 30, you'll also be penalized for wearing leather, cloth, or no shoulders. Starting at level 40, you'll also be penalized for wearing leather, cloth, or no helms. And then from levels 50 to 60, hold on. Alright, and from levels 50 to 60, you'll start getting penalized for wearing mail. Mail, leather, cloth, or no, helms, shoulders, chests, braces, gloves, belts, pants, or boots. And at all levels, you'll get penalized for wearing an offhand frill over a shield. But you can wear nothing in the offhand instead of an offhand frill, and then you won't get the debuff. So you can use a one-hander with nothing in the offhand, and you won't get the debuff that way. But why the fuck would you do that if you probably start out with a shield? Anyway, these changes will prevent hunters, druids, rogues, and priests from having to compete with paladins for some items in dungeons and raids. Getting debuffed by this will display a red debuff to make sure that people who don't pay much attention to the game mechanics notice it, such as all those warriors from Vanilla Classic who leveled in leather on PvP servers. Yes, there were actually a lot of those people. And there probably still are. Per capita, that is. In both cases, per capita. The quest, the Tome of Nobility, shall be turned into a small quest chain that involves substantial expenditure of gold. As such, the Paladin's Warhorse will no longer be free. This will help to flesh out the class a bit. I haven't gotten around to actually changing the quest, though. Not yet. New spell, Sense Demons. Sense Undead, except it Sense Demons. New spell, Turn Demon. It's Turn Undead, except it turns a demon instead of an undead. You cannot turn an undead into a demon at the same time. Also, by the way, Paladins and Priests have not invented the anti-aberration spells yet. Except Exorcism and Holy Wrath seem to affect them anyway. Exorcism is not so creature-specific as Turn Undead and Turn Demon are. Yeah. New spell, Holy Hand. That's a tentative name, by the way, but I kind of like it. 1 rank, learned at level 6. Holy School, costs 12% of base mana for now. Instant cast, 15-second cooldown. Some undefined schematics in the description of the spell, and after that, the spell description says, causing your next successful melee attack within 8 seconds to trigger an additional powerful effect based upon your active seal. Ends without an effect if your seal wears off, is replaced by another seal, is consumed by judgment, or is dispelled before you perform a successful melee attack. Or, of course, it just wears off. You refer to individual seals for spell effects. Notes: triggering both this and your seal standard effect at the same time will make both things happen at the same time, though the game will process the seal's effect first. Recasting the same seal that you already had, provided that it's of the same rank, will not make the effects end early of Holy Hand if you had not consumed Holy Hand yet. In the combat log, casting Holy Hand will make the combat log say that you casted Holy Hand, but when Holy Hand is consumed by a seal, then the combat log will say that you casted Hand of X. Though Hand of X in particular will ignore spell failure and silences upon you as opposed to the Holy Hand itself. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention what a spell failure does. According to the glossary, a creature of spell failure will have a chance upon casting any spell for the spell to fizzle and incur the global cooldown, but not the spell's regular cooldown. All sources of spell failure, except for that from Lightning Infusion, the new Shaman talent, will stack additively, so to a maximum of 100%. So yeah, you really do not want to have spell failure as a Paladin, especially not as a Holy Paladin. So yeah, more notes about Holy Hand. Hand of Righteousness will deal holy damage equal to 10 seconds worth of auto-attacking with the seal. Hand of Command will deal holy damage equal to 64.5% to 198.5% of your weapon damage, with damage cost mentioned under the Retribution talent changes, based upon your base weapon speed. Slow weapons get a smaller percentage, while fast weapons get a bigger percentage. Hand of the Crusader will cause your next hit to trigger an extra attack as physical damage for X% of completely normalized weapon damage. What is completely normalized weapon damage? It's a regular normalized weapon damage. It's like completely normalized weapon damage. It's like regular normalized weapon damage, except it also normalizes the base damage of your weapon, that is, the damage displayed in your weapon's tooltip, around a specified attack speed. Moving on, Hand of Justice will cause your next hit to stun the target for 2 seconds, with said stun being on different dimensionary turns than Sealed Justice's other stuns are. Forget that that's primary or secondary. Making its on-demand stun be on the same dimensionary turns as Hammer of Justice's. Hand of Light will cause your next attack to heal you for 10 seconds worth of auto-attacking with the seal. Hand of Wisdom will cause your next attack to grant you mana equal to 10 seconds worth of auto-attacking with the seal, plus the cost of Holy Hand. It shall be ensured that you cannot swap weapons with a Hand of Command to get a larger hit than is intended. For example, a 198.5% hit with a 4.0 speed weapon instead of the intended 64.5% hit, or just more than 3 times what I intend by swapping a 1.3 speed weapon at just the right time. This will not be accomplished by preventing players from swapping out weapons while Sealed Command is active or Hand of Command is being used. Obviously, the aforementioned descriptions for what each seal causes its spell to do will be shown in the individual seal descriptions. The addition of this new spell to the game starts to make Paladin leveling be more interactive, and therefore less boring to some extent than before, considering that it was somewhat uninteractive in vanilla. New spell, Divine Gift. Alternative name, Divine Recovery. I haven't decided on that yet. Multiple ranks. Learned at levels 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, and 60. Holy School. Costs 2% of base mana. Instant cast. 10-second cooldown. Marks a foe that would yield experience if slain. The power of the mark is equal to 10, plus the damage dealt by, plus the damage dealt by your Paladin spells other than Seals, Retribution, or Blessing of Sanctuary to the marked foe to a maximum of X, but 10% of the mark's power will fade away every second. When a foe marked by you dies, you will gain mana equal to the mark's power. This cannot be resisted by level-based resistance, and therefore can't be resisted by anything, because it's a holy spell. Notes. Where is it? This value of X is equal to 278 rank 1, 368 rank 2, 510 at rank 3, 728 rank 4, 900 at rank 5, 1110 at rank 6, 1350 at rank 7, 1628 rank 8, and 1828 rank 9. The name of its debuff is, quotation mark, Divine Mark, quotation mark, which is a red debuff, and its description is, quotation mark, gives the Paladin mana if you die. Fades away if that Paladin doesn't hurt you for a while, end quotation mark. This spell won't trigger the global cooldown, nor will it abide by the global cooldown. The intention of this spell is to encourage Paladins to use mana to deal damage outside of the casting of seals, which are not hands or judgments, while leveling and farming out in the world. The more mana you spend, the more mana this spell will give you, to an extent. This spell is not intended to give a substantial amount of mana to, for example, a Holy Paladin in a 5-man dungeon who deals 200 damage to a trash mob's health and damage before it dies, at level 50 or so. You're supposed to work for that mana gain. Every Paladin that casts this on a mob will get a separate debuff. Casting Divine Gift on the target that you already marked will return an error message and not cast a spell. Another new spell, Boon of Lightning Reflexes. Holy School. 1 rank. Learn from a Libra that requires level 60 from a drop from Balthazar. And then the Libra of the Boon of Indomitable Resilience drops from Emperor Dagron Thorson. So yes, Boon of Lightning Reflexes. 1 rank, 100% base mana, Holy School. Requires a new regen that has a base cost 1 gold. Regen centers, I haven't decided what will be called yet. 2-hour cooldown. 10-second cast. Creates an altar in front of you that stands for 5 minutes. If you and 39 other level 60 players in your group all click on the altar, you'll begin to Boon of Lightning Reflexes. Hold on. Alright. After 30 consecutive seconds, yeah, then you'll begin to do with lightning reflexes. After 30 consecutive seconds of participation from all 40 people, the altar will glow. This causes all in your group who touch the altar afterwards to be able to benefit from a flask of lightning reflexes for 2 hours. By the way, that's a new flask that gives you plus 120 agility. The enable, provided you're under the boon or the shaman version, the right. The enabling of which persists through death and cannot be dispelled. The enabling to use the flask from the spell. This spell will overwrite similar effects and will end early if anyone leaves your group. Similar effects means all other flask enabling spells, such as Boon of Indomitable Resilience. The 30 seconds of participation counts as channeling and can be interrupted, so make sure that there aren't any enemies around when you cast this. This and similar spells serve to cause players to only use flasks in 40-man raids, World PvP, and Alterac Valley pre-maze. And for reasons that I went over in the AV video, you might not want to actually cast this in Alterac Valley. This will wear off early if you leave that Battleground. Oh, by the way, there are a lot of changes made to Battleground Ks and to the PvP ranking system. In fact, I just replaced it with a completely new ranking system and still made a lot of changes to Battleground Ks, so don't worry about bugs versus pre-mades anymore. Basically. New spell. Well, unless somebody pays off the game masters anyway. With real money. Anyway, new spell. Boon of Indomitable Resilience. Holy School. 1 rank. Learn from a Libra that requires level 60 to use. 100% of base mana. Requires... Well, basically... This is exactly the same as Boon of Lightning Reflexes, except that it applies to the Flask of Indomitable Resilience. The Flask of Indomitable Resilience is another new flask that grants the drinker 9.6% crit reduction. Crit reduction is the component of defense skill that reduces your chance to receive a critical strike. That it. And so, like, back in vanilla, when a tank was set to be defense capped, that tank had exactly 5.6% crit reduction or more, and thus was not capable of being critically stricken by level 63 enemies, and therefore all NPCs. Provided the NPC does not have a bonus to crit chance, and that the player does not have a penalty to defense from a debuff or some shit. So yeah, 9.6% crit reduction. That's not something to laugh at in PvP. However, in raids, you're going to want to use Flask of the Titans instead, because if you actually want a defensive Flask, that means you're a tank. And you need to have hit points that you don't get one-shotted. Despite wearing a shield, because of changes I made to raids. Anyway, moving on. Holy Talent changes. I almost said red. Improved Seal of Righteousness will also increase... Improved Seal of Righteousness, in addition to its vanilla function, will also increase the damage dealt by Hand of Righteousness by 3% per rank. Consecrate will dissipate while the caster is under the effects of Divine Shield, Divine Protection, Divine Intervention, Blessed Protection, Light of Illusion, or Limited Invulnerability Potion, and Consecrate cannot be casted while the caster is invulnerable or partially invulnerable. This will prevent exploits that would enable spell cleaving. Speaking of which... To the agenda, I forgot to add 2 things related to other sections of this document. Moving on. Improved lay on hand. Oh, by the way, I got rid of spell cleave for good. It's gone. Period. Like, not even Wheels. I doubt even Weasel could figure out a way to do it. Anyway, moving on. Improved lay on hands. Melee cleave is gone too, by the way. Moving on. Improved lay on hands will no longer increase the target's armor for 2 minutes. Yeah, it's no longer increase armor for 2 minutes. Instead, this talent will cause lay on hands, so leave the caster with up to an amount of mana based on caster level after casting it. This way, I won't have to balance alliance tanks around always having to have that huge armor bonus for improved lay on hands so that he can afford to not use a shield. Or so that... And that I also want to make raid bosses hit harder in order to make him use a shield. Anyway, character level times 5, that means 300 to level 60. Here, level stand up rank 2, that means 600 mana you get left with after laying on hands at level 60. Moving on. In order to make Illumination be harder for Paladins that did not invest deeply into the Holy Talent Tree to get, Holy Power and Illumination will swap places in the Paladin's Holy Talent Tree. This will have the side effect of enabling Red Paladins to get 5 ranks into Holy Power, though they probably could have used a damage buff anyway. Divine Favor will require 5 points in Holy Power instead of 5 points in Illumination. Illumination, in addition to its vanilla function, prerequisites, will also require 1 point in Divine Favor, making the talent be harder for Paladins who do not invest deeply into the Holy Talent Tree to get. Illumination will, in addition to its vanilla function, also increase the duration to the Judgment of Light and Wisdom by 6 seconds per talent rank, making raids not have to bring in extra Red Paladin in order to get Judgment of Light or Wisdom on bosses since the Lasting Judgment is being removed from the game, the talent. Improved Lasting of Wisdom will be removed from the game. In its place will be a new talent called Improved Cleansing. It requires 15 points in Holy Talents. 2-point talent, passive. Reduces the mana costs of Cleanse and Purify by 10% per rank. Notes. This Paladin can be replaced with a completely different talent in the same position with the same cost, so long as it abides by the following rules. Hold on. Okay, right. Yeah, so long as it abides by the following rules. Number 1, it is not a talent that you would not want to have while someone else in your group has it, as opposed to when that ain't the case. Number 2, if the talent... I need water. Number 2, if the talent is essential for PvP, it must also be useful for raiding, or optionally, essential for raiding. Also, vice versa. That is, if it's essential for raiding, then it must also be useful in PvP, or optionally, essential for PvP. Number 4, the talent must not be useless in PvP. And number 5, if it is essential for raiding, it must not be useless for most solo play. Lasting Judgment will be removed from the game, seeing as how this is almost purely a raiding talent, and I can't figure out how to make it be useful outside of raids and straw grasping situations. False-Line Healers should not be expected to use their seals outside of straw grasping situations. Actually, if I recall correctly, it's a PvP talent too to some extent. But anyway, moving on. New talent, Improved Hammer of Wrath. Requires 20 points in Holy Talents. 3-point talent, passive. Increases the range of Hammer of Wrath by 3 yards at rank 1, 6 yards at rank 2, and 10 yards at rank 3. And increases the chance to critically strike by 7% at rank 1, 14% at rank 2, and 20% at talent rank 3. Notes. This talent can be replaced by a completely different talent in the same position with the same cost, so long as it abides by the following rules. The same rules as for Improved Cleansing. Now then, Protection talent changes for Paladins, and not Warriors. Just Paladins. Redoubt will last for an additional 3 seconds. It'll immediately fall off if you unequip your shield or breaks, and Redoubt will have no charges, which is functionally the same as giving it infinite charges. Improved Righteous Fury will be renamed to Guardian's Fury, and it will be given the additional function of increasing your attack speed of one-handed weapons by 1% per talent rank, whether or not Righteous Fury is active, in order to make the talent be useful outside of group PvE. Allows a single target threat generation of all 4 tanks, including shamans, to be roughly equal. As part of accomplishing this, Guardian Fury's bonus to Righteous Fury's bonus threat will be buffed or nerfed by an indeterminate amount. You know, I probably used the wrong semantics here because this includes shamans. Anyway. Yeah, the Horde does not get shamans. There's no Draenei in this game. I mean, High Elves for the Alliance and Ogres for the Horde. There's no room for Alliance Shamans or Horde Paladins. Anyway, moving on. The locations of Redoubt and Improved Devotion Aura will be swapped in the Protection Talent tree. Guardian Savior will be moved one space to the right in the Paladin's Protection Talent tree. The location of Guardian's Fury, formerly Improved Righteous Fury, and Shield Specialization, Paladin, will be swapped in the Paladin's Protection Talent tree. Improved Hammer of Justice will be moved one space to the left in the Paladin's Protection Talent tree. Anticipation, Paladin, will be buffed to give 150% more defense than before, that is, 5 defense skill per rank instead of 2, causing the talent to not suck. Shield well, for Paladins to give a shit about avoidance anyway. Shield Specialization, it also helps you get crit less. Anyway, Shield Specialization, Paladin, will also be a prerequisite for Blessing of Sanctuary, seeing as how Redoubt will need a prerequisite arrow drawn down to Holy Shield due to its interaction of Holy Shield. Shield Specialization, Paladin, will no longer increase the Paladin's block value. It'll instead decrease the damage taken from all blocked attacks by 3% per rank before block value, as part of making Prop Paladin's single target damage mitigation be on par of that of Prop Warriors. Against physical attacks, at least. Blessed of Kings will be turned into a baseline Paladin spell learned at level 20, and Greater Blessed of Kings will be changed accordingly. Furthermore, Blessed of Kings will increase all stats by a flat amount instead of by plus 10%, and it'll have 5 ranks, not including the Greater version. Those will be the same as rank 5 except it's AoE. This will prevent Alliance Warriors and Paladins from caring more about strength than they do about attack power, which will make it be easier to do itemization for them. Level 20 rank, plus 6 to all stats. Level 30, plus 11. Level 40, plus 16. Level 50, plus 23. And then the level 60 rank and Greater Blessed of Kings will give plus 30 to strength, agility, intelligence, stamina, and spirit. New talent to replace Blessed of Kings. Undefined name. Requires 10 points in protection talents. 1 point talent. Passive. Grants you a 15% chance after blocking an attack to make your next instant cast spell casted within 10 seconds cost 0 mana. This talent can be replaced with a completely different talent in the same position with the same cost so long as it abides by the following rules. The same rules as for Improved Cleansing. But also, rule number 6. Prop Paladins need this talent in order to have enough mana for raids. So make sure that the new talent still accomplishes this, or stick this or a similar function elsewhere in the Protection Talent tree. Blessing of Sanctuary will reduce all damage taken by the greater of X or 3%, excluding plot damage of course, to a maximum of 10x, whereas X is the patch 1.12.2 values. This will make it be more consistent with other flat damage reduction changes, causing it to perform better in raids and in PvP versus big hits. I will consider swapping the locations of one-handed weapon spec, Paladin, and Reckoning in a Paladin's Protection Talent tree to nerf 200 Reckoning builds, or maybe I'll remove the 200 damage bonus for Reckoning instead. I'm not sure yet. If I'll do either of those at all. Reckoning will be revamped as such, regardless. Its description will say, quotation mark, grants you a 100% chance upon being the victim of a critical strike, and a 7% chance after blocking an attack to cause your next successful attack within 30 seconds to deal additional damage equal to 9% per talent rank of your attack power, increased to 12% per talent rank if using the two-handed weapon. Stacks up to 4 times. Ends early if you sheave, that is press the Z button, or unequip your weapon. There are other ways to sheave, by the way. Notes, sheaving or unequipping your weapon does include swapping out your weapon, and it does include getting disarmed. This bonus damage is unsurprisingly increased by critically striking. This gives Paladins one less reason to care about their weapon speed, as well as giving them a reason to take the talent in raids when they're proper prop Paladins, that is, actual fucking tanks, and it also makes it harder to save up Reckoning stacks, causing Paladins that you see trying to gank you in World PvP not start the fight off by slowly 4 stacks of Reckoning on you, which was pretty fucking hard to deal with in World PvP. Again, within 30 seconds. So the buff only lasts 30 seconds instead of until the next attack, or however the fuck long that is. Moving on. One-hand weapon spec, Paladin, will, in addition to its vanilla function, while Righteous Fury is active, increase the threat generated by melee attacks, that is, weapon damage attacks, that are performed with one-handed weapons by an amount of scales of only your talent level, character level, and base weapon speed, in order to help me balance out single target threat generation amongst the tanks when I get around to doing it. Most prop Paladin threat scales with gear and consumables, but this source of threat does not scale with gear or consumables. The warriors have plenty of stuff that doesn't scale with gear or consumables. In comparison, I'll determine the exact values of this later. In fact, most of the warriors get to not scale with gear consumables. Unless you count their auto attacks, I guess. Anyway, Holy Shield will be redesigned as such. Its bonus to block chance will be increased to 45%. It shall activate Redoubt when used, and instantly reapply Redoubt if it falls off while Holy Shield is active. It'll slow the casting time of your spells by 40%. Its base damage and spell damage scaling will both be halved. Its 20% bonus threat will be replaced with 75 flat bonus threat at rank 1, 110 flat bonus threat at rank 2, and 150 flat bonus threat at rank 3. That is per block. Per damage value, excuse me. The mana cost, duration, cooldown, and number of charges of Holy Shield will be multiplied by 2.5. Holy Shield will also grant the Paladin mandate equal to 15% of the base mana cost of Holy Shield whenever you block an attack while Holy Shield is active. Holy Shield will immediately end if you unequip your shield, or if it breaks, because it makes sense. Notes: the 40% part is a placeholder value. The holy power compelling you to use your arms to fight makes it more difficult to cast spells, therefore making them cast slower. That's the thematic explanation for the cast speed slow. The flat bonus threat will not be increased by Righteous Fury, while the threat from holy damage will be increased by Righteous Fury. Holy Shield could have this talent description, for example. Increases your chance to block by 45% for 25 seconds. Increases your chance to block by 45% for 25 seconds, grants Redoubt while active, slows your spellcasting speed by 40%, and deals X holy damage and refunds 15% of its mana cost for each attack blocked while active. Damage dealt by Holy Shield generates a moderate amount of threat. Each block expends its charge. 10 charges. Ends early if you unequip your shield. Now, finally, Retribution talent changes. Benediction will also reduce the mana cost of Holy Hand by 3% per talent rank. That is in addition to its vanilla function. Improved Seal the Crusader will only increase your attack speed by 3% at rank 1, 6% at rank 2, and 10% at rank 3 while Seal the Crusader is active, without doing anything else, and without further decreasing its damage with each talent point. As well, it'll also increase the damage up by Hand of the Crusader by 3% at rank 1, 6% at rank 2, and 10% at rank 3, causing the sound to feel better to have when another Rider Prop Paladin in your group has it, because there's no more improved Judgment of the Crusader to worry about. That is, yeah, that's right. It went over to change to Seal of the Crusader to Judgment of the Crusader. That's right. I did, right? Hand of the Crusader, yep. I think I forgot something. Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't forget that. Okay, yeah. Moving on. Seal commands proc chance will be changed from 7 procs per minute to 26%. As part of making fast weapon speeds, go to slow weapons for rep paladins. Seal command spell damage scaling will be changed from 20% of non-exclusively holy spell damage plus 29% of exclusively holy spell damage to instead be equal to 5.26 times base weapon speed as a percentage of non-exclusively holy spell damage plus 7.63 times base weapon speed as a percentage of exclusively holy spell damage, as part of making fast weapon speeds good as low weapons for rep paladins, and as part of making room for the new spell, Holy Hand. If Seal Command had an internal cooldown that's set to more than 0.5 seconds, internal cooldown of more than 4 point. Internal cooldown of more than half a second, then it'll be lowered to 0.5 seconds. Mostly so that Red Paladin's going to have more of a reason to use fast weapons over slow ones. Seal and Hand of Command will have a flat damage cap before bonus spell damage effects, spell damage vulnerability, resists, and crits based on your spell rank and base weapon speed. Rank 1. Hold on. No. Rank 1. 64 to 196 maximum damage for Seal Command based on your base weapon speed, 164 for Hand of Command. Rank 2. 87 to 268 damage for Seal Command, 221 for Hand of Command. Rank 3. 104 to 336 damage for Seal Command, 264 for Hand of Command. And then rank 4. 124 to 380 damage for Seal Command, 315 for Hand of Command. And then rank 5 has no caps. These numbers, admittedly, are somewhat arbitrary, due solely to my estimating of how much self-buffed weapon damage you would typically have at certain levels. I intend to clean up the numbers at some point in the future. This will cause Red Paladins to typically use the highest or almost highest rank of Seal Command that they can possibly learn, instead of almost always using rank 1 to conserve mana. Moving on. The base mana cost of Seal Command will be reduced by 40% to make room for the new spell Holy Hand. Hold on. Alright, improved placement in deflection will switch places in these Paladin's Retribution talent tree, making deflection be more accessible to Proud Paladins as part of making Proud Paladins be main tank material. I need to catch my breath. I've been talking for 56 minutes because I botched the first recording. I'm doing both of these in a row. Anyway. Improved Blessing of Might will be removed from the game after the deflection's location swaps with it. New talent, undefined name. Requires 5 points in Retribution talent. 5-point talent, passive. After any incapacitation or stun effect fades from you, I need water. The crit chance of your next attack or offensive spell within 8 seconds will be increased by 8% per talent rank. Notes. The talent could be replaced with a completely different talent in the same position at the same cost, so long as it abides by the following rules. The same rules as for replacing improved cleansing of a new talent. 200 weapon spec, the Paladin talent will, in addition to its vanilla function, grant you a 2% chance per talent rank on hit with a 2-meter weapon to incapacitate secondary damage during turn the foe for 2 seconds, in an effort to make fast weapon speed as good as slow ones are for PvP. Vindication and 200 weapon specialization, Paladin will swap places in the Paladin's Retribution talent tree, seeing as how Vindication is going to be the main thing that actually gets Red Paladins invited to raids. Not the personal damage, but Vindication. Vindication will work on all creatures. It'll have a 3 permitted proc chance per talent rank, and strength/agility reductions will be hard capped at character level divided by 3 per talent rank. The caster's character level, not the victim's character level. This will start to get a Red Paladin invited to raids. Now that reducing the non-player character's agility will actually mean something in raids. By the way, it made NPCs treat agility differently than they had in vanilla. It's a lot more impactful now. Sanctity Aura will only increase damage dealt by Paladin spells. It will no longer buff Smite or Holy Fire. This was done to balance Holy Priest damage between the Alliance and the Horde, like how I changed Judgment into Crusader. Vengeance will have its duration increased to 12 seconds, but it'll only have 3 charges, like Flurry, which are consumed by weapon attacks, Crusader Strike, yes, I'm adding that to the game, to replace, Repentance. Yeah, and all class-specific sources of holy damage as part of making fast weapon speed as good for Red Paladins as slow ones are. Repentance will be removed from the Retribution talent tree and be replaced with Crusader Strike. Requires 30 points of Retribution talents. Retribution School. Activated. Costs X% of base mana. I haven't decided how much yet. 1 rank for any talent. Instant. Melee range. 20-second cooldown. 1 point talent. Strikes the target with Holy Might, dealing X damage, incapacitating it for 2 seconds, and having a cooldown of your next Holy Hand or Judgment casted within 10 seconds. Notes. X equals completely normalized weapon damage. as I've already explained the definition of. It'll be normalized around 3.3 speed for two-handed weapons and 2.4 speed for one-handed weapons. And so will the other completely normalized weapon damage for paladins. That's from Hand of Command, was it? I think so. And Hand the Crusader. The incapacitation is intended to synergize with Judgment of Command, and how no two-handed weapon is faster than 2.0 speed without attack speed buffs, faster than 2.0 speed without attack speed buffs, and its duration. You know, I forgot. I already forgot if Hand of Command does completely normalized damage or not. I already forgot. I'm gonna go check. I don't even remember writing this sound. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, here it is. And it wasn't this, Hand of Light does this, Hand of Justice does this, Hand of Crusader does this. Hand of Command, okay, here it is. Hand of Command deals solid damage equal to that percentage of your growth damage. Okay, so it doesn't deal completely normalized solid damage. I remember now. Fuck. Oh, this is exhausting. Okay, yeah, Crusader Strike. Back to Crusader Strike. The incapacitation is intended to synergize with Judgment of Command. Yada, etc. I already said that. Crusader Strike cannot be casted while silenced or locked out of casting holy spells because it's a spell proper. The Holy Hand/Judgment cooldown reduction buff can be dispelled. Dispel's direct damage can proc things as if it was a white attack, including damaging seals. This spell runs off of physical crit and not spell crit. This spell will use the Burning Crusades icon and graphical effects because why the fuck not? This spell will serve to make... It's only from the Burning Crusade. It's not like it's from fucking Warlords of Draenor or some shit. Anyway, and then this spell will serve to make Grab Paladins be more offensively threatening in PvP than the healing talent tree is, and to give them a much-needed PvE buff. And that's all the changes I got for Paladins. Thanks for watching. Oh, that was a long video.